Hello everyone, thanks for tuning into today's video. We're going to have a look at the weather next 8 to 10 days. In today's video, this will take us into August, going up to almost to the 10th of August. It looks like weather's going to be a bit mixed, really. I think we're going to have some warmer weather early next week and then probably having a bit of a deterioration later next week. But it's all a little bit uncertain, as it has been throughout most of the summer, really, in terms of the detailing. But I think the weather will be staying rather on the changeable side as we go into the final month of the summer. Now, before I get on with that, just very quickly to mention the ads. This link to articles on all the pages at GazWeather.com. Have a browse widgets. Any articles that you're interested in, please click through. You guys go and read the article, and thanks very much for doing that. Let's read your ads, those pages, open up in the content. When you've watched them, they will close back up again. And thanks for getting involved and thanks for doing that. Just very quick, want to start off with the latest observations from xcweather.co.uk, because it's another very cool day across many parts of the country, with temperatures again significantly below average. So just picking out a few places, starting up in the north, we've got Eskdalemuir there, in southern Scotland, just 12 degrees, moving southwards, Dishforth, coming out at 13 degrees. These are all official weather stations. Nottingham comes out at 14 degrees, approaching midday on the 30th of July, Church Lawford at a lowly 15 degrees, and so on, going further south. High Wycombe, getting towards the south of England, 14 degrees, and it continues down onto the south coast. Thorney Island on the south coast at just 17 degrees, significantly again below where you would expect temperatures to be. At the very end of July, we are in what is traditionally the very hottest point of the year. The final week of July and the first week of August normally gives us our highest temperatures on average of the year. So, yeah, very disappointing temperatures once again. It certainly feels chilly in the breeze. Here's the Central England temperature from Hadley. This is provisional up to yesterday, up to the 29th. And despite that incredibly hot opening day that we had, I'm sure you remember, it seems a very long time ago now, but the first day of July was exceptionally hot and gave us the highest July temperature on record at Heathrow. Despite that, we may actually finish up with temperatures ever so slightly below average for July. So we currently stand at 16.3 provisional to the 29th to yesterday, which is an anomaly of just 0.2 of a degree above average. So you can basically say we're about average. Now, I think these could slide down a little bit more over the next couple of days, today and tomorrow, because got some chilly nights and daytime temperature, nothing to write home about, as we've already seen. And then we might get a little bit of a downwards correction anyway, because we normally take off, say, 0.2 or 0.3 of a degree once you factor in all of the final numbers. They normally knock off a couple of tenths of a degree. So I wouldn't be at all surprised if we actually finish up ever so slightly cooler than average, say somewhere around 15.9, which will be a little bit below the 61 to 90 average. And that seems quite amazing when you consider how hot it was on that opening day of the month. It just to show you, just because you get a very hot start to a month doesn't necessarily mean that will be how the month as a whole plays out. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens there with the central temperature once we get through to the end of the month. Of course, we've got the August month head forecast coming up very, very soon. So I've got to come up with a prediction for August, and that's going to be giving me a bit of a headache, I would think. These are the sea surface temperature anomalies for the globe. I want to focus on the Atlantic Ocean. Very cold anomalies here across the northern Atlantic Ocean just at the moment. Got these blue colours out to the west of the UK, extending really from the UK over towards the coast of America, over towards Newfoundland, and particularly centred around the central part of the Northern Atlantic, where those temperature anomalies have gone very, very cold indeed. This could be the start of the cold AMO, Atlantic Multi-Decadal Oscillation. I don't want to go into too much about that for this video. That will need to be explained in a video just focusing on that, I think. But basically, the Atlantic goes through a cycle of warming and cooling on around a 20 to 30 year basis. We have been in a warm AMO since around 1995. This could be a side of it going cold. I would assume that the AMO will start to come back up into the warm side of the AMO over the next 2 or 3 years, before then perhaps definitively going cold on a regular basis as we get through into the 2020s. But this could sort of be the first hints of what's ahead in the next 10 years or so. But anyway, I think this is having a knock-on effect. This cold Northern Atlantic is having a knock-on effect for our summer temperatures. Yeah, I think that explains partly, not all of the reason. Other reasons are, of course, we had quite a lot of cloud, we have winds coming generally from northwesterly direction, which is always quite a cool direction anyway. But I think the cold temperature anomalies in the Atlantic probably explains some of these chilly temperatures that we've been experiencing. Notice that El Nino is continuing to strengthen in the Pacific Ocean. Just over here, and the SOI, the Southern Oscillation Index, is crashing again. Here's the latest numbers from the Bureau of Meteorology in Australia. 29th of July comes out at -31, as does the 30th of July. Remember, they are ahead of us, so they've already got the figures in for the 30th of July. So, yeah, very negative SOI again. Remember, when the SOI goes negative, it's telling you that the atmosphere is reflected in the El Nino setup. When the atmosphere does that, it helps to couple with the ocean and sort of produce the warming effect through the equatorial Pacific Ocean. So again, another crash in the SOI currently taking place. That will allow further warming of the equatorial Pacific to take place. And you get the idea that this is a snowball effect. The more negative the SOI goes over a prolonged period, so it feeds back to increased warmth for the equatorial Pacific. That sends the SOI into another crash, and so on, and it snowballs away into a strong El Nino event. It looks like that's what we're going to be getting. We'll be updating on El Nino in August, of course. Right, let's get back to the next 8 to 10 days' time. Got off on a bit of a tangent there. With those first few charts. So we've got the ECMWF here on the left, the GFS is on the right. These are the mean flow charts for the next 8 to 10 days' time. Taking us into August, this probably goes up to around the 9th or the 10th of August. Blue extrapolates to high pressure, blue extrapolates to low pressure, orange and red extrapolates to high pressure. I've only been doing this for 3 years. So we have the blue colours there to the north and west of the country on both the ECMWF and the GFS. So it's an unsettled scenario really. The saving grace that we've got this ridge sitting down to the south, which will protect southern parts of the country somewhat, but nevertheless we're still bringing in the jet stream more or less through the country, rather like that. So it's likely to be unsettled, particularly in the north and west, with some rain getting down to the south-southeast. As we've already seen, the North Atlantic Ocean is in a cold state at the moment, so the winds coming in off the Atlantic, temperatures are likely to be not all that exciting. Having said that, we're probably going to get a push-up in the temperatures early next week. I don't think it'll last all that long. These are the GFS temperature and precipitation ensembles for the next couple of weeks. The red line here is the 30-year temperature average. Of course, we're significantly below average at the moment, as we have been for the past week or so. We're going to find the temperatures lifting up through the weekend and start of next week. So this is for Monday, and we're going up to pretty warm values there. May see temperatures lifting into the upper 20s Celsius down in the southeast, so getting into the 80s Fahrenheit on Monday afternoon. I think it'll be very brief, and you see that very quickly, Tuesday to Wednesday, the temperatures are dropping back, before maybe lifting up again, not quite to the same extent at the very end of next week. There's a lot of uncertainty on that. And overall, as we get through into the second week of August, these are the dates, of course, just here. So this is the 8th of August in that area. As we get into that period, probably seeing temperatures coming out very close to the average, although that of course is a long way off and not to be relied upon. In terms of the rainfall for the next couple of weeks, quite a lot of dry weather actually coming up through in towards the second half of next week anyway. After that, the rainfall spikes are coming back somewhat, but it doesn't look a particularly wet period even into the second week of the month down in the south. I think it'll probably be wetter though up in the northwest. Remember, as you're further south on a westerly in summer anyway, you're likely to be drier because you'll usually have a ridge somewhere across France. The precipitation and temperature anomalies looking like this. Temperatures first of all, so I've got the 30th of July through to the 7th of August, showing that we're a little bit cooler than average still. That'll probably go a little bit on the warmer than average side over the next couple of updates, but really nothing particularly exciting showing up there in terms of the temperature anomaly for the coming week. Rainfall anomaly looks significantly drier than average down in the south. That's quite good, but up in the north it will be nearer normal, in fact a little bit wetter than average western parts of Scotland. If I have a look at the generic charts, here we are for Monday. This is the reason we're pulling up this warm push very briefly on Monday. Really deep area of low pressure in the Atlantic with a central pressure there, I think around 980 millibars, very, very deep area of low pressure for the time of year. We've got ridging to the east as well, and between the two that's allowing us to pull up very briefly this southerly flow, so that starts to push the air up out of Spain and the Mediterranean. It won't last very long, but it could lift the temperatures into the high 20s in the east and the southeast as we go through into the start of next week. That low pressure will then move in towards us, cutting off that easterly, that southerly flow, pushing it to the east. That'll go off in towards Germany. Winds will go back to the west and it'll turn cooler off the Atlantic. We go through to the middle part of next week, about low pressure to the west of Scotland producing showers and pretty cool temperatures as well. Then perhaps just another little brief build of pressure through central parts of Europe on Thursday before the low pressure again tries to break through from the Atlantic. So I do think we are looking at a warmer week next week. We will lose this very chilly feel that we've had over the past few days. It will feel more like summer, I think, through the course of next week, even if it's not particularly settled. So the low pressure breaks through at the end of next week, and that then settles us into a more unsettled phase as we go into the second part of the month with low pressure coming in off the Atlantic. And that sort of takes us in towards day 10, which is Sunday the 9th of August. Low pressure coming in, bringing showers along with spells of rain, and quite cool temperatures takes us through into the second week of the month. The ECMWF is very similar with all of this. We've got the southerly flow on Monday with the low pressure out to the west. As we go through into Tuesday, we cut off that southerly flow very quickly, turn winds round to west as this low pressure moves in off the Atlantic, bringing showers, longer spells of rain and cooler temperatures through to the middle part of next week. We tried to get the winds up from the south again on Thursday. It doesn't quite come off to the same extent that the GFS does it and just really rolls this next area of low pressure through. But in the south and southeast, it could get warmish again around Thursday and into Friday. And then going into the weekend of the 8th and 9th of August, all eyes on this area of low pressure really coming off the Atlantic, bringing more unsettled conditions, particularly to the north and west, but not exclusively so. There could be some rain in the southeast as well. So overall, it's all a little bit mixed. I think it will feel better across the south, particularly next week. It will feel more like summer, with particularly Monday looking like quite a warm day down in the southeast. But overall, still rather changeable, really, and particularly to the northwest. There will be some rain at times and quite cool temperatures up there generally. That's it for that. JMA Friday tomorrow, which will take us through the month of August, more or less. We'll go up to the end of the month, I think, with the month head look ahead tomorrow, so come back for that. That's all for now, and thanks for watching.